I always thought summer would lift my luck, but June of last year proved me wrong. I'd been job hunting since spring, CV after CV, interview after interview, sitting in waiting rooms that smelled like air freshener and old coffee. I dressed the part, smiled politely, gave rehearsed answers, but each time it ended the same. We found someone who's a better fit. By the time the days grew long and the sidewalks shimmered with heat, my savings had dried up. Worse, my parents, both in their 70s, depended on me for rent and medication. I lay awake each night in my sweltering little room, listening to the hum of the floor fan and counting the coins in my purse. The math never added up. Eventually, I told my friend Kira what was happening. We met in a small park by the canal near Limehouse. The sun was sharp enough to sting the eyes, and the benches radiated heat. Kira listened quietly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, then handed me the keys to her silver Toyota. "Use the car," she said. "Sign up as a ride-hail driver. Just for now. Nights are busier. Tips are better." I hesitated. I'd never driven strangers around before. But the rent notice on the fridge kept growing larger in my mind, and my bank app showed only red. That evening, I signed up. They approved me in 3 days. Background check, quick selfie, copy of my license. Done. I vacuumed the car, filled the tank with the last of my money, and placed a small bottle of hand sanitizer in the cup holder to look professional. I told myself it was temporary. My first shift started on a Friday night, just after sunset. The city sky was still pink, and heat still radiated from the pavement. I wore a loose cotton blouse, tied my hair up, and set the air conditioning to low. The first few rides were easy. Tourists from Covent Garden to a riverside hostel, friends going clubbing in Soho, a tired chef riding home to Hackney, still smelling of grilled onions. Each beep on the phone brought relief. £4 here, 9 there. Small pieces of hope. Close to midnight, the app pinged again. Pick up at Royal London Hospital, destination Willesden Green. Longer distance meant better pay. I accepted. I took a sip from my water bottle and turned onto the wide road. The hospital entrance was glowing under streetlights. A few nurses in pastel scrubs shared cigarettes and tired jokes. My passenger stepped through the glass doors, tall, in grey jogging bottoms, hoodie pulled over his head despite the heat, surgical mask covering half his face. A small pharmacy bag swung from his wrist. Without a word, he got in the back seat. "Comfortable back there?" I asked. He nodded, but his eyes never left the window. The map showed a 45-minute drive. I merged into traffic, windows up, air conditioning humming. We moved through Aldgate and onto Commercial Street, where neon signs glowed over late-night bars. At a red light, he leaned forward. "Can you turn left up ahead? Don't like the main road. Too many cameras." That struck me as strange. Every driver knew the main road was faster. Still, the customer could choose. I nodded and turned left, guiding us into quieter streets lined with warehouses. 3 blocks later, he spoke again. "Cancel the ride." His voice was flat, not angry, just final. "Sorry." End the trip on the app. A warm breath touched my neck through the gap in the seats. Then, I felt the cold press of metal against my shoulder. My eyes flicked down. A knife. My thumb trembled as I tapped the screen. The app blinked off. The company no longer tracked our route. "Now pass me the phone," he said. Without turning, I handed it over. He slipped it into his pocket. Streetlights flashed past, washing the dashboard in pale gold. The air conditioning now felt freezing. I could hear his breathing, shallow, controlled. "Open the glove box." I did. He rummaged through it, pulling out the backup phone I kept for emergencies and a folded £10 note. He took both. "Pull over there," he said, pointing at a narrow alley. It reeked of warm rubbish and stale beer. Shattered glass sparkled under the headlights. I stopped the car, hands white on the wheel. "Unlock your banking app." My fingers slipped on the screen. Wrong pin. Deep breath. Second try. Success. Balance. £2.63. No deposits pending. No overdraft. Just a digital eco. He stared at it. The silence stretched. Somewhere down the alley, a bottle rolled and clinked. Then he let out a short breath that might have been a laugh. "Driving all night for £2. I've been looking after my parents," I said. My throat felt like sandpaper. The knife lowered to his knee. We sat in silence. Then he reached into his hoodie and pulled out a folded green note, 100 US currency. He tossed it onto the passenger seat. Take it, fill the tank, feed your folks. Wait 5 minutes after I'm gone. I didn't touch it. My eyes flicked between the money and the knife. He noticed. Slowly, he slid the blade into his sleeve, opened the door, and stepped out. Warm air filled the car. He shut the door gently behind him and walked away without looking back. I locked the doors and sat frozen. The dashboard clock ticked. I counted breaths. 1, 2, 3, until I hit 300. Then I shifted into gear and pulled back onto the road, headlights sweeping over damp brick. I drove to a 24-hour petrol station, slid the $100 across to the cashier. He examined it, shrugged, and gave me change in pounds. I filled the tank until the nozzle clicked, each liter feeling like both hope and guilt. By the time I reached Kira's flat, the first birds were chirping. The canal reflected a pale grey-blue sky. I left the change on her coffee table and curled up on her sofa, shoes still on, my pulse slowly fading from panic. The next morning, I told my parents nothing. I made them tea, smiled, and paid the rent in cash. The rest went to prescriptions and groceries. I still drive, mostly at night. I avoid strange-looking pickups and only take main roads. My life remains a patchwork of fares, petrol receipts, and long quiet drives. But some mornings, as the sun rises over the Thames and the sky shifts to silver, I remember that green note, its weight, its strangeness, and wonder what it really cost me, and what it saved.